Hello, all you fine, beautiful people. I'm back here once again with another tier list video, and today I'm going to be breaking down the songs from Piper at the Gates of Dawn. Now, to those of you new to this is kind of the start of a new series I want to do. I thought I'd start with something kind of really familiar and something I've listened to very recently to start this. And it's probably going to be a series. I'm going to start with probably the first couple be bands that I'm familiar with, albums I'm really familiar with, or that really intrigue me. And then I want to open it up to you guys where you guys get to pick what I am listening to, where I'd rank certain songs. Uh, and yeah, that's kind of the idea I had. So I thought about doing this many different ways. Do I just have it as like a video where I go like through each song on the album, or do I do it more in like a tier list ranking? And I thought, you know what, the tier list ranking kind of actually really to me sounded very intriguing. So that's kind of what I went with here. So yeah, let's get right into this. Let's start with the tier list itself. To those of you familiar, I'm sure most of you have seen tier lists before. The categories I have is greatest hits. This is like songs I would throw on a greatest hits album. And yeah, underneath that, next categories would make a playlist. Songs I think that are good or really good, not quite greatest hits level, but I would throw in a random playlist to introduce somebody to the band. Underneath that is the category I can see why people like it. It's maybe a song that I don't like or I don't think's good in this level, but I can see where people like it. Underneath that, we got nothing special. That's kind of like what I'd say is like generic filler kind of songs. And then got the do not recommend, which is pretty self explanatory. It's one of those where I'm like, avoid those songs like The Plague. So Piper at the Gates of Dawn came out in 1967, features Syd Barrett on guitar and vocals, Rick Wright on the keys and some vocals. You have Roger Waters on vocals and bass, and you have Nick Mason on drums. So right off the bat, the first song, this album was kind of Pink Floyd was signed after pretty much their Arnold Lane demo went really well. So I figure, you know what? And it's one of those really weird, poppy, psychedelic songs. So let's get into this right off the bat. Astronomy Domine, this should be on every greatest hits album of Pink Floyd. I absolutely love this song. I love like the space like intro with the dee 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 dee, kind of like the Morse code thing at the beginning, and then it goes into this kind of like driving guitar riff, and then a bam bam, which is very interesting because I remember seeing somewhere where they were talking about Syd Barrett's gear, and unlike most guitar players of the time, like the Jimmy Pages, the Jeff Becks, and all that, who were probably using Marshalls or Fender or just different amps, Syd Barrett was different than all of them. He was kind of using like a country and western amp, which I never thought about it until someone said it. That really gave it like that ding 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 ding, just really strange. And he used two of them, so but it is a good song. Lyrics to it are just out there. The lime and limpid green. It kind of has like this melancholy feel through it, and then it has like these vocals of almost you're in space through the kind of musical breakdown through it. It's really an interesting song. Fantastic to listen to. This I've seen this on Pink Floyd Greatest Hits albums. I understand why it's on there. It is such a strong opening. It kind of pointed the way for Pink Floyd to go forward, but yeah, one hell of a killer track to start. The next song, Lucifer Sam. Ooh, where to put this? Because part of me wants to put this right here. I think this belongs on a greatest hits album, but I think for the purpose of this, I'll probably put it here. Would make a playlist of the really interesting thing about this album is how there's two different ideas. Like it feels almost like a very schizophrenic album. It kind of doesn't know what it wants to be. Does it want to be like this experimental album, or does it want to be kind of like the psych pop album? And it's really interesting, the ideas going on here. Lucifer Sam is a hell of a song with the it's so poppy, it's so catchy, it's amazing. Anyone I'm introducing to early Pink Floyd, I'll always recommend this song. It's a killer. Like Lucifer Sam, Siam Cat, and then going into that cat, something I can't explain. The riff to this song is just fantastic. The middle section, kind of that solo freak out, it works really well for this. And I would definitely suggest, like, these are pretty much like two really, really good suggestion spots for it. Up next, Matilda's Mother. Oh man, where to put this? I'm going to put it here. I can see why people like it. I really love Rick Wright's organ intro to this song. It's really good. It's not on the tier of these two, but it's not far off. I really like it. It gives it this very interesting, whimsical, at times feel, but it's also very dark and very brooding. You know what? Actually, I'll put it up here and make a playlist. I would make a playlist of the song now thinking about it. It's really good. Some of these songs are going to be really hard to place because, especially this two category, because I could see why some of this stuff would make it. Flaming, not a huge fan of Flaming, I'll be honest. But I can see why people like it, especially the Syd Barrett stuff, some of the stuff going on here. That kind of creepy intro as well, kind of like Matilda's Mother. But I think where Matilda's Mother kind of, I think, breaks it is where this is. It's just a really... I just think Matilda's Mother is a more... Yeah, it's just one of those really interesting songs. I love the more poppy vocals on this one. Like this one I think is a little bit more dark. This one's a little bit more poppy, but I can see why people like it. Power Talk H is the next song. Yeah, I'll put it here. I like this song a lot. I love the... It's really interesting. But the one thing that really I noticed about this song and about a lot of this album is, especially when it gets past like the vocal kind of scat where it's Roger doing like his loud screaming thing, it gets into this section that is so jazzy with Rick Wright's keyboard, Syd Barrett. It's one of those songs where the more and more I listen to it, the more I'm just amazed at this. It's a lot like this, where this and this is very much experimental, where these are kind of like versions of kind of psych pop in a way, but with a little bit of experimentation. That's full psych pop. That's kind of more with a little bit of the experimental side, but yeah. Take Up Thy Stethoscope and Walk. This song usually gets placed in a lot of bottom of worst Pink Floyd songs. Oh, I will put it in the oh man, it's hard to put it. Do you put it in the nothing special or the do not recommend? Uh I'm not sure if I'd put it in like the bottom of Pink Floyd's catalog. I'm I'm probably gonna put it, yeah, nothing special. It's just one of those kind of poppy. It's Roger Waters' first pen song with Pink Floyd, where it's him, and you can tell there's a lot of growing pains through that song. It just doesn't seem, at least for me, listening to this album, it doesn't seem to fit. Like it really does feel like a song where these songs and even some of these feel like they fit on the album. Take Up Thy Stethoscope and Walk just feels so. I know some might not agree. It just feels so different than the rest of the album. And to me, I would have taken this song out and maybe even put in Arnold Lane from the single. Would have put that on the album probably in its place, and it would have, because I think Arnold Lane feels more like this album than Take Up Thy Stethoscope and Walk does. Interstellar Overdrive, I'm one of the few. I'm going to put it above. Above or below Flaming? Where to put this? I'm going to put it here. And I know there's people that absolutely love this song. And I understand why. Because if you're a fan of progressive rock, if you're a fan of King Crimson, especially, you can hear a lot of King Crimson in Power Talk H and Interstellar Overdrive. To me, this song just kind of goes off the rails a little bit. And it follows a formula of Pink Floyd. I remember seeing interviews where they're like, they would play like a riff, and this one, and like, they play it like four times and then they improv over the rest of it. This very like a song at times where that happened, but there's also controlled chaos in this. It's really hard for me because part of me is like I'd put it in a playlist, but there's also part of me where I know what's coming up, and I really don't think, considering the rest of Pink Floyd's discography, that this would be a song that I would introduce a lot of Pink Floyd fans to. It's really hard because these two songs aren't bad. I actually enjoy both of them. But when you're talking about the rest of this album, I think it does belong kind of there. On to the next song of the album, The Gnome. Who were to put this one? I'd put The Gnome up and make a playlist out of it. Yeah, I really enjoy this song. I know there's people out there that might not. I want to tell you a story about a little man, if I can. It's just so interesting. It's one of those where you could throw it in a playlist and people would go, "What the heck is this?" But in maybe a different way than Interstellar Overdrive would. For me, I love this song a lot. It's one of those Sid Barrett songs where you're talking about his solo career. This, if you're into Sid Barrett's solo work, this feels so much like it would fit on there so well, Pink Floyd or not. Because I think the whole kind of cartoonishy way the song's presented, and then with the chorus, and then one day, hooray. Oh, it's one of those really great dichotomies where a Sid Barrett could be so melancholic, but then in the chorus be so happy and positive. It's kind of very interesting. Chapter 24, To me, nothing special. It's kind of in there with Take Up Thy Stethoscope and Walk. I'll put it above it. Same thing kind of with Scarecrow. I'm not a huge fan of this song Scarecrow. It's for me there. And then on to the final song of the album, Bike. Where did I put Bike? Would I put it greatest hits? Would I put it make playlist? Because I really enjoy this song. I got a bike, you can ride it if you like. It's got a basket, a bell that rings, things to make it look good. I'd give it to you if I could, but I borrowed it. I'm going to put this in greatest hits. I know it's appeared on Echoes, the best of Pink Floyd's greatest hits. I'm not sure after that how many of them, but there's just something so quirky, so English about this song that I think it fits. Like, if I was to move maybe one up, it might be Lucifer Sam could also be in this section, just because of how damn good it is and how the riff really makes that song. But Bike, like, you're the kind of girl that fits in with my world. I'll give you everything and everything if you want things. Just a fantastic song. The way Sid Barrett was able to write, okay, you got a bike, you can ride it if you like. It's got a basket, a bell that rings, things to make it look good. I'd give it to you if I could. But then he throws in that line, I borrowed it, which is completely out of nowhere. It's almost comedic in a way. And as the song's going on, especially the last verse where it just slows right down, and pretty much at the end he says, let's go into the other room and make them work. And as it's going on, you get like this sound collage of what sounds like gazillion rubber duckies or something, just all these noises. And it's a great way to end the album. It's very much an album of its time and very 60s. But if you love 60s rock or really looking to get into Pink Floyd, especially early Pink Floyd, I think this might be a good starting point. The first album. Is it on the level of like Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, Animals on the Wall? If you're looking for that stuff, you're not going to find it on here. But I think it's a great place to start with Pink Floyd because of where it goes. Like, there are some highs, some lows. There's really nothing on here I wouldn't recommend as much as there is on some other albums, and we may get into that at a later date. But yeah, that's my thoughts and opinions right now on the greatest hits list. You get Astronomy, Domine, and Bike. Would make a playlist. You can add these two to it. Plus, you get Lucifer Sam, Power Talk H, Matilda's Mother, The Gnome. I can see why people like it. Interstellar, Overdrive, and Flaming. The Nothing Special category is Chapter 24, Scarecrow, and Take Up Thy Stethoscope and Walk. And then in the Do Not Recommend, I have nothing there. So, yeah, that's my thoughts and opinions. I'd love to know what you guys think. Comment down below. This is just a test. I want to see what you guys think in the future. Let me know down below in the comments section. Is this something you'd like to see going forward? I'm going to try, like, I see this is running about 20 minutes. I'm going to try and keep these under 10 minutes. So keep that in mind for the future. But once again, I say thank you guys so much for watching. This is me here signing out. Peace.